Hello, everybody. This is the Chocolate News Podcast. I'm your co-host, John Alexander Reese.
And I'm your co-host, Andrea Carter.
And if you did not know, the Cincinnati Herald has been around since 1955 and is the leading African American owned newspaper in the greater Cincinnati area and northern Kentucky area. How's it going, Andrea?
Oh, it's going fine, John. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Last night was certainly dramatic because it was election night. And unfortunately, I did not get the outcome that I wanted. And I think a lot of people would say that.
It has been excuse me, it's been a very interesting day. I've had a number of phone calls from family and friends, or text messages, I should say. People are very disappointed. Um, People are amazed how people can vote against their interests. Um, and in a way, I'm still trying to assess how I feel. Um, it is kind of like locally, the local elections, I'm very happy. Democrats did their job and got the certain people elected. Fantastic. But nationally, there have been so much finger pointing as well. The message wasn't right, or this wasn't right. Look at who didn't receive the message. Who didn't we talk to? The Democrats need to revamp this. I don't know. I'm kind of like in the position of I'm old enough now that I've survived a number of elections where I voted for a candidate who didn't win. And basically it's take your day, take your glass of wine, your bourbon, if you want your munchies, whatever makes you feel better, do. Then prepare for the future. That's what I've been telling people today. Um, so it's an interesting day.
Yeah. So, what's the chocolate news of the week?
The big thing is Kamala Harris lost the election. And she's conceding, her concession speech will be given later on today at Howard University. And it's going to be interesting to hear what her message is going to be for the future. What is the charge she's going to give the American people in this day and age? Because they reelected the man who took down a Roe v. Wade, who had that rally that was so hate-filled, vitriol, misogynistic rally that um, they put him back in office. And Project 2025, they've given them permission to launch Project 2025. But before I do all that, I'll just have to start with one chocolate news is the article that the National Newspaper Publishers Association wrote in reaction to this election with the title Election Proves Black Americans Have No Allies. And it's on the Cincinnati Herald website right now. And basically, it takes a look at this election, this national election, I should say, and how it's an isolating moment for the Black community. Maybe I should say, in a broader sense, the minority community, but Black community for our audience purposes. Um, Bishop Talbot Swan put it bluntly on social media, there is no Black-Brown coalition. Latinos voted on the side of the white supremacy. We're in this by ourselves. Swan's words echo the sentiment of many Black voters who watched as Latino support for Trump surged, even as his platform targeted marginalized communities. Meanwhile, Black voters were again held to their high standards of loyalty to the Democratic Party, only to feel abandoned as the alliances dissolved and communities prioritized their own survival. And I think that's the sentiment. Um, Black people are tired of supporting people who don't support them.
Yeah.
We've voted for candidates, we've gotten a little bit here, a little bit there. We have kept everyone on the straight and narrow, what it means to be American, what it means. If you look at anytime something messes up, they look to a Black manager or leader or supervisor to clean it up and then reap the benefits from when that job is done. Um, and it is, you know, Kamala Harris encouraged white women. You're concerned about reproductive rights. You're concerned about this and that. Don't vote for this guy. Vote for the person who's going to make sure you're not going to die when you get to the hospital because the doctors refuse to do a procedure on you. I know if I ever get ill, I don't want any doctor in the South to touch me
Mm.
because there's no guarantee that I will survive. At least I know in Ohio, I have a fighting chance here because of what we put in place on abortion rights or at least reproductive rights have a shot here. Survival here is guaranteed. Survival in the South is not because there are too many stories of women, black, white, who are dying in the hospitals because they cannot get the care or they had to leave and go get the care that they needed, but have hurt their chances to ever have children. I don't know. I'm, and then you also have to think about as a Black American, we voted for our representatives who we asked, just do this one thing, we'll support you. And we've supported you for how, since um, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, we have supported the Democratic Party. I don't know. I think Yvette Nicole Brown captured the sentiment of the rest of the country. The rest of you are about to be shocked by how Americans treat you when it doesn't care about you. The phase out phase has begun. And basically, the only thing I can say is for the Black community, we know survival, we know how to pivot. This is not new for us. Maybe it might be new for our young people, but it's not new for the Black community. We know how to pivot, survive, and continue. I think the rest of the country doesn't know how to do that, and they're going to learn the hard way. Um, what we told you about our next president is true. And when you feel the bulk of it, don't be afraid. Don't be surprised if a minority comes up to you and says, "We told your ass so." Oops, sorry, we told you so.
Hmm.
So, excuse my language. I guess I'm a little upset today.
Yeah,
Um,
it's understandable.
I mean, I've had one friend of mine is works in the environmental field. She doesn't know she's going to have a job next year now
Mm.
because Republicans don't support climate change. And she fights on environmental justice. But they have talked about getting rid of the Department of Education, getting rid of the EPA, getting rid of voting rights, getting rid of everything that we fought hard to have and keep. They're very slowly chopping away at it. And, another friend sent me the demographic who voted where for Donald Trump. And basically, according to this demographic, 24% white men voted for Kamala, 74% voted for Trump. 31% white women voted for Kamala, 69% voted for Trump. 81% black men voted for Harris, 16% voted for Trump. 90% black women voted for Kamala, 8% voted for Trump. 53% Latino men voted for Kamala, 45% voted for Trump. 59% Latino women voted for Kamala, 40% voted for Trump. All other races, 42% voted for Kamala, 55% voted for Trump. So, in a way, her message worked if you go with the percentages, but those who, want to make sure that the white person stays in control and not the black person or a person of color does not, they went that way. I mean, there are all kinds of stuff being sent around social media. And I had one friend send me a Instagram video on a Chinese American man is having dinner in a Chinese restaurant with a white man who voted for Trump and asking him, why did you vote for Trump? And he said, because Trump will slow the evolution of the white community becoming a minority. And
Mm,
he will put policies in place to slow that progression down because everyone knows that when you become a minority, you have no power. And this is from a white guy, a white businessman, telling a Chinese American who was born in the United States, very proud of that. He loves being American, but basically was told to his face that you have no place here.
mm.
So that's what there are all kinds of reactions. Um, I know my sister is very now afraid because, my day job, I work in gun violence prevention, and Donald Trump is even threatening, to turn certain cities into military zones because of gun violence. Um, she's very, now afraid for me. It's just all kinds of stuff. And then there was one friend was like, you know what? Black women should stop trying to support the community and just take care of our own. Don't support the greater good because obviously they don't care about us. We ask for an alliance to just do this one thing so we can make the world better for everybody. And she basically just said, never mind. She probably will not support any project that benefits the greater community because they don't benefit us. So there's that represents a variety of conversations that are going on locally, going on national media, picking apart what's going to change. Jamie, who's the head of the Democratic Party? Jamie Harris? No, the head of the chairman of the Democratic Party. Um, what is his name? I cannot think of his name.
I'm trying to
Um,
remember.
Jamie Harrison. I was going to say a different H last name, but Jamie Harrison has already said that he's not going to run for re-election as chairman of the party. But I'm not surprised at that because there's always whenever there's a loss, they make a change at the top of management. So I'm not surprised by that. Um, I think it was an impossible situation. Kamala Harris stepped in. She ran a fantastic campaign. She touched a lot of people. There are a lot of people at her rallies. I think she got her message out. There are a lot of people who claim that they didn't know who she was. It was like, look her up. I think after 2 months of her being in the campaign, that was an excuse, because you had time to get to know her. I think that's about it for now. So it's there's that. It's kind of sad, but I think now is the next steps of plan on what is if you don't have a retirement, what does that mean for you in the future? If you're counting on Social Security, you got to make other plans. What's next?
Yeah, looking forward to 2026.
Yeah, and it's kind of sad. But
Yeah.
anyway, enough about that. So I mean, I know this is not going to be um the last of the conversation that we had on this. And I mean, everyone's going to say the Democrats misstepped and all this type of stuff. Um, I don't know. At this point, I would say that we just need to take a look at what worked, what didn't work, go from there. Um, we should celebrate because Cincinnati will be put on the map because JD Vance, who lives in East Walnut Hills, is now become the next vice president of the United States. And he will be installed on January 20th, which on that day, which is also Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Kind of sad, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
So, Cincinnati, from that standpoint, Cincinnati will be placed on the map. But I would just say in other chocolate news, because I know we'll have a breakdown and we'll discuss this more later on. Sad news, Quincy Jones died.
It's sad.
And he was 91. Um, he's been around so long. His um, input was felt in the jazz world, in the rock world, in the R&B world, producing, directing documentaries. Um, he produced Michael Jackson's Bad, Thriller. Um,
Off the
Named it
wall.
and Off the Wall. All of those albums, from Michael Jackson and then others. I mean, I have on my Pandora the Quincy Jones radio. He has produced so much music. Um, whether it's he physically wrote the song or he produced or he played an instrument on it, it is unbelievable. He's worked with such greats across around the world. Um, it's kind of sad, but he died on Sunday, November 3rd, in his Bel Air home. He was 91. You're still seeing tributes on social media um, as they, Brother Q, as they call him. Um, his loss is felt. Even Stevie Wonder said something, about him during his last concert, which was in Chicago. A friend of mine told me she went to his concert in Chicago. And, he mentioned Quincy Jones. If you have not seen the documentary about Quincy Jones, you should see it. The autobiography of Q. It's great. The soundtrack to it is unbelievable. I recommend it. The compilation sound albums, can I say albums or CDs or
I'd say albums.
albums? The compilation albums of all the work that he has produced or written is fantastic. I recommend it that you just listen to it. It is unbelievable. It's just a musical history that you will enjoy. And go from there. And as another name in entertainment, Missy Copeland, who is like the prima ballerina at the Met in New York City. She is going to be receiving the 2024 Heisman Humanitarian Award this year. She is a celebrated ballet dancer. She's actually a groundbreaking um, figure in the world of ballet, becoming the first African American woman promoted to principal dancer at the American Ballet Theater, which performs at the Met in New York City. Um, she is an advocate for children of color through her foundation that was founded in 2021. And she just believes in giving back to the community, teaching dance, teaching leadership, dance instruction. Um, she believes in also she is an advocate for ballet, health and wellness, music for ballet, mentoring and tutoring for both boys and girls, so they have a more rounded view of the world and be able to move their bodies and exercise. And ballet and music together also help with comprehension and developing the brain so they can teach and learn comprehension in that way. Um, she's just a huge advocate for the youth. So she's going to be receiving that at a special award ceremony held. Um, and also she will be presented with a donation of $75,000 to support the Be Bold program, which her foundation supports. So congratulations to Misty Copeland. Um, that is fantastic. And then also another first, Kimmy Badenoch. I believe I'm expressing her name correctly. She is the first Black woman to lead the Conservative Party in the United Kingdom. She was just elected last week to lead the Conservative Party. Um, they went through a sound of threshing at the last election where Rishi Sunak got replaced as prime minister. And, so their party has to go do a revamp. And because of that revamp, they elected her as leader to help lead the revamp. So making strides. I wonder what the Europeans know that we don't.
I don't know. All I know is that quality of life over in Europe has got to be better than over here.
Well, they have racism just as much as they do here.
Th-
Um,
I mean, yeah, that is true. They have their own problems.
and but at the same time, even if they have their own problems, people survive and thrive and go from there. So we just have to, you know, I say celebrate the firsts and the leaders around the world who are serving as role models and mention them to our young people here. And hopefully they can say, hey, go take a look at what she's doing, or go take a look at the Black men who are playing the violin or the viola or any classical instrument and making a name for themselves on the world stage. We have to support the wins, because obviously it's not happening on the national stage the way we think it should happen. Um, and I think locally, we need to talk about the local races. I will say this in Hamilton County, congratulations to Greg Landsman, Congressman Greg Landsman. He was reelected to Congress. Um, Cedric Denson, Cecil Thomas were reelected. Connie Pillich won her race as she will be the first Democratic, oh, she's the first Democrat to be elected as Hamilton County prosecutor. So that she ousted Melissa Powers. Congratulations to that.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
um, what else? Those were the top races that led segregated. Let's see, a few others won their races. The judges, the new municipal judge, Virginia Talent, edged out Bernard Mundy to be the second person elected for the municipal bench in Hamilton County. Robert Winkler got reelected, and then it was between Virginia Talent and Bernard Mundy fighting for for that second spot. And at first, Virginia and Bernard were leading with the early votes. And then as the same day votes, regular votes came in, um, everything started to flip or move up. And basically, what happened is Virginia was leading, then she dropped. Robert Winkler was leading, and then between Virginia and Bernard, they would flip back and forth, and Virginia got more votes than Bernard. And so Virginia won that spot. So congratulations to Virginia Talent, who's going to leave her job as the assistant city manager down at City Hall and become a judge. So congratulations to her. So there'll be a management change down at City Hall just a little bit. And I think that's pretty much, and then issue one, the
Right.
gerrymandering issue, um, that hoped that people had hoped that they would change how maps are drawn in Ohio. They almost did it. They did not lose by a lot. So there's hope to put it on the ballot again. They just have to ramp up and make sure that whoever writes the ballot language doesn't construe it enough that people will be put off and not voting for it. Basically, it was a way to, if you change the map, then we would not have a one party rule in Ohio. And unfortunately, it didn't happen. So a lot of sadness in the races, but some good has happened on the local races that we can say, yay, congratulations, the Dems did their job. So we'll just have to see what happens next. And that is all the chocolate news for today.
All right. Well, thank you, Andrea. And yep, that's it for today's show. I want to thank Andrea again for all the chocolate news. Thank you, Andrea.
You're welcome.
And you can find more information about today's topics and past podcast episodes at www.cincinnatiherald.com, the Sesh newsletter, or on our social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Threads. And be sure to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast app. You can listen to us on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast from. I'm John Alexander Reese,
And I'm Andrea Carter.
and have a good day.